Hi, and welcome to another edition of Studio 411. I'm Larry Dasilva, your host. It seems like forever since we've been on. I think I've almost grown another inch on my beard waiting to come on. But here we are, folks, okay? And we've got a great guest. We've got a great show for you. We have actress, author Kathy Garver. You say, well, the name sounds familiar to me. Well, she has just been a busy, busy lady for all of her 39 years, and yeah, and it's a big birthday in her family too, but not hers, but somebody else. She'll share with that if she wishes to. Kathy is the co-author of a wonderful new book, Ex-Child Stars, Where Are They Now? And I hope I'm getting this gentleman's name, Fred Ascher, I believe, but Kathy will correct me in a moment. It is published by Taylor Trade. And it's just a marvelous book about all your favorite child stars from the 50s through the early 90s. And I just found it a great book, as is this young lady, Kathy Garver. Welcome to Studio 411. How are you?
I'm great, Larry. Thanks for having me on.
Good, good. Now, did I get Fred's last name, Asher?
You did?
Very good, very good. And how did you and Fred, I know he does other things in addition to being an author, so how did you guys get together to come up with the idea for this, this book?
Well, I do a lot of autograph conventions, pop conventions, Comic-Cons, because I also have a big voiceover career. And Fred came up to me and we just started talking, and he had so much energy and he was just delightful to be with. So we just started talking, and this was kind of his idea. I had a 2-book deal with Rowman and Littlefield Taylor Trade. And so I said, well, I have to write another book for them now that I had my memoir out. I said, so let's do Ex-Child Stars. I know so many, as I started as a child 39 years ago, as you so nicely said.
She's batting her eyes as she says that. There you go.
But not quite double. But
yes.
Yeah, so I said, well, I know all these people. I can do some interviews because it's different when you're actually sitting down or when you're just having some tea or coffee or a glass of wine with someone, and how they open up and being with them. So we got together and we put out this book.
There you go. No, it's a great book. It's a kind of book, it's more than just a coffee table book. It's a kind of book that anytime you want to like look something up or reminisce, it was amazing some of the things that I saw on there that I had not seen before. Not necessarily, well, to do with the child actor, but additional stuff. I'll give you, for instance, I did not know that a show that I watched when I was growing up, Bewitched, I thought it had kind of run its course. I didn't know that ABC actually wanted a 9th season, but that Elizabeth Montgomery, who probably was, you know, pretty tired of doing the show by that point, had nixed the idea. I thought it really just kind of fell out because of low ratings. So that was something I didn't know. And there was a couple of other things if I come up with them as we speak, but just, you know, you guys really dug for your information, I got to tell you.
Well, yes, we did a lot of reference work, and the book itself is kind of a reference. And it's the kind of book that really doesn't become dated, even though we say, where are they now? Their kind of now stays with them a long time. Unfortunately, some of their nows refers to that they're not with us anymore, especially like the little girl on my show, Family Affair, Anissa Jones, who died tragically at only 18. But for Bewitched, my friend Herbie Pilato has written a couple definitive books about Elizabeth Montgomery. And I just had lunch 2 days ago with this fellow that was her hairdresser and makeup artist her entire career.
Wow.
And so when she passed away, you know, he said, well, what am I going to do? I don't want to do that anymore. And he became a wonderful director, and he's going to direct a new project that we are doing in a couple months.
And he also interviews, because I believe I ran across an interview. Didn't he do an interview with you at a bookstore or something? That I saw a YouTube of it somewhere, I believe.
Herbie did.
Yeah,
There's a difference between Herbie Pilato, who wrote the books,
right,
and then Barry Clift, who was Elizabeth's hairdresser,
oh, the hairdresser,
makeup
right,
artist and director.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and the other thing too that popped into my head, I think by that time that they wanted the 9th year. I think her and Bill Asher were kind of almost done. You know, he was the producer. A lot of you folks remember he was an associate producer on I Love Lucy back in the day on CBS, and then the two of them met, married, and they actually did a couple of beach party movies. She appears in one of them in a cameo and twitches her nose. I mean, there's a little known fact if you like the beach party movies. Let's talk about your buddy there from a lot of you remember from the Donna Reed show, Paul Peterson. We even have an image of Paul along with his friend Shelley Fabre. Paul, from the way you guys talk, really was a big inspiration for the two of you to put this book together. Tell us not only about your friendship with Paul, but also the great organization that he started that's been so beneficial to so many folks.
Paul is a fabulous person, and I've known him for quite a while. And he really had insight into what was going on in the world of child actors, which was not good, because so many of them, their parents spent all their money. And that happened with Johnny Whitaker, who was on my show, Family Affair. It happened to a lot of the people. And even back to the Jackie Cooper and Jackie Coogan, he said, we've got to do something about this because the kids work all their lives, and when they're, older and maybe not getting so many jobs and have outlived their cuteness, they have no money. They have no resources. And so he put together what is now called the Coogan Law, and named after Jackie Coogan. And so any contract that any child does has to be signed, and they are assigned to a bank, and a certain portion of what they make is put away for them, collecting interest. And so when they are 18, they are able to withdraw the money. The only problem is now, as old as I am, I have a 28-year-old son, and he was working in the business for a while, and then he became 18. I said, oh, honey, now here is your money. And he said, thanks, Mom. Well, 2 weeks later, that money was all gone.
Wow.
So, there has to be some temperance when you are then giving the children of 18 all that they have worked for. But Paul's done a great job in the Child Star community, and he has an organization called A Minor Consideration, an MINOR consideration. And it really helped to develop that law. He has now stepped back from it for a couple years and turned it over to Scott Schwartz. But it is still ongoing, and Paul is going to be, and he's the host of a Child Star cruise that we're doing with Tony Dow from Leave It to Beaver, and Allison Arngrim, and Stan Livingston from My Three Sons, and me. And we are going to go from San Pedro to Cabo San Lucas.
Wow.
And back. So he does a lot of things and a lot of good.
That's tough.
I'm sorry.
Tough work for Kathy there for a week or so.
Yeah, but somebody's got to do it.
That's right. Yeah, you can see that. If it takes some video of, there'll be a big Child Star volleyball game going. Okay, Kathy will be like spiking the ball with her jumping ability. There you go.
Well, I was a cheerleader in high school and college at UCLA, and I had to jump a lot since I'm 5'1".
Yes. Wow. No, it was.
It has to rely on my ability to jump high.
It was funny. I was going to make a joke as I was driving here, and something made me think of the notes I had of you. And I said, no, I'm going to be a wise guy and say something. Oh, were you a cheerleader? And I didn't realize, I didn't realize you were. So there you go. There you go. So,
great minds think alike, Larry.
That's
what
right.
Can I say?
So she'll be off to the side in between like Spike. She'll be cheering Barry Williams and all the other guys on. And of course, as I said, Paul was, many of you remember him, not the way he looks now, but of course was a teen idol on his own on the Donna Reed show in the 50s and 60s. You mentioned the Coogan Law, and I think it's a great thing. However, and I was just talking about this as it pertains to all of us, but especially kids today. The one thing, whether you're a child star or not, is in high school, I firmly believe that they need to be teaching economics. They need to be teaching everything from, old school checkbook, balancing, stock market, savings. I'm just bringing it up because you used an example of your own and the family. And again, there's an example where all of a sudden the money comes, or what's the classic line I heard, even with 401ks? Oh, does that mean I can go out and buy a car? And it's like, folks, the IRS will be coming after you. You know what I'm saying? The long arm of the IRS. So those are things that in conjunction with that, I think are critical to a kid at any age, not just a child star.
Absolutely. I remember I was in a special kind of class. We had to take a test, and they chose 35 of us. And we learned how to write out checks and all of that, which was very good. And I agree with you, like 100%. I teach voiceover and I teach acting. And I tell a lot of my students, I said, it isn't just it is just as important to know the business side of acting as it is to know your skills and how to do voiceovers or how to act on stage or film or television. And because your income goes up and down and up and down and up and down, that you have to get your budget and your baseline. So the times that, wow, I got that commercial and was able to go to Mexico and my income spiked, and then the next month you didn't get anything. And you can't go out and buy that car, as you say. You have to see what your baseline is and what your bills are each month.
Yeah.
But that's what happens to so many of the kids. You know, they are just inundated with the hoopla and the fun and the celebrity.
And I think it's even worse now, because I think now with the electronic age, I think the temptation is much more than even in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Real quick, and we'll get back to another part of the book. One person, and again, forgive me, you probably know the name, the young lady who took over for Suzanne Summers on Three's Company, and I'm drawing a blank. She was youngish. No, you're correct on there. No, the one that played her cousin kind of was a buffer between Suzanne and Priscilla Barnes. She was kind of a blonde.
Not Joyce.
No, this was another one. I can't think of her name. I remember seeing that young lady who was all of like 22, and she stayed on the show in a minor role once Priscilla came on. I remember seeing her on the Merv Griffin show in the 80s, and this young lady was already investing in real estate and already owned several strip malls as well as apartment buildings. So that's what I'm talking about. Is I would love to find out what was your secret, as opposed to so many others that just, even today, sports players, athletes, TV, movie stars, Nicolas Cage for one. What are you doing buying a castle, Nick? You know, that gets foreclosed on. There's no perception of money. You know, I'd like to have a crack at that. You know.
Yeah, the sensibility is different. I did buy a couple, 2, 3, 4 houses as rental houses.
Sure,
and they do stand you in good stead.
Yeah.
So it's a good real estate investment, especially in California, was very good, and it's still good. But you have to have a diversified portfolio. You know, you can have bonds and mutual funds and real estate and the different things. So, and gold and silver, put a little in there. So if one goes down, obviously, then you have the other ones to give you ballast, and so you get to stay in your career as long as I've been in it.
And you've done quite well, believe me. I think, you know, people, in your case, I know at one point I thought, oh, wow, I haven't seen or heard from her in a while, but you know what? You went off in a different direction. You went into theater in the 70s, you got your additional degrees. Then, you know, when I saw you like on Princess Diaries, I remember saying, well, that's great, she's on with Julie Andrews, but I'm like, she's on a trolley car, and then for like 5 minutes, and then she's gone. And I'm thinking, but you were busy doing a host of other things. So it doesn't matter what it is, as long as 2 things. One, it's legal, and one, it's paying well. So you know what, it's all good, it's all good. Ex-child stars, where are they now? And more importantly, actress, author, voiceover expert Kathy Garver. And I have to say that carefully because I have another guest named Kathy Garvey, and I don't want to mix up the name.
Here's another book coming out.
Yes, tell me about it.
That is Holiday Recipes for a Family Affair. And I have a co-author on that one as well. And he is a friend of mine who is a writer and a producer, and I did a couple movies for him. And my son is such a good cook and a creative cook. And this fellow, Scott Weaver, is also an excellent cook. And whenever we would go out to lunch, he would bring me handmade candy and handmade cookies. And I said, these are just so good. So our conversations always went to food. And since my very first book had been the Family Affair Cookbook, I said, well, And he said, well, let's do a cookbook
No,
together.
that's great. Now,
So
does anyone own the name, the Family Affair name, as far as a copyright? Because I noticed in some of your other books, you very wisely work that into the book or to the title of the books. But it's
a great hashtag.
Yeah.
And nobody owns the name per se. I mean, if I were writing a TV sitcom about Family Affair, I could, even if it was a spoof, I could use the name Family Affair without any retribution or whatever. But if it was an exact copy, then you say, well, wait a minute, I'd get a call. I said, I just saw this new sitcom called Family Affair. What's that all about?
Yeah, exactly.
They tried to do a remake of it.
I heard they did with Tim
Curry.
Tim Curry, but I think I saw a blip of it. He played like the Mr. French type character, but why did it fail? I have to think the father or Uncle Bill figure wasn't strong enough, and perhaps the kids that were cast were not, appealing enough to kind of carry the show.
It was awful, is why it didn't last. And they made 13 episodes and they cut it off at 9. It's very difficult, in my estimation, to do a reboot of a show. I think sequels are better using the original people.
Yeah.
And then, because then everyone wants to know, well, where are they now? Like in my book, and what happened to those characters that we love, and where did they go? But Tim Curry was a little bit over the top. And Sebastian Cabot, who played the original Mr. French, was such a strong character and beloved at the same time. And he was true and he was real. Whereas Tim Curry wasn't quite as believable. Gary Cole, who played Brian Keith's part, that was, they could go together and that was fine. But the kids did not have the cuteness of the little girl and boy twin. And then they tried to make it up to date, and then they lost the reality and the love and the warmth that was in the original show. And also they tried to do it on tape. I think Family Affair was successful in the kind of show it was, a warm, gentle kind of comedy, dramedy. And when they put it to tape, it was sharp and like this. And, that wasn't the essence of the show. It was a heartfelt, comforting show.
Sure, oh yeah. Yeah, it was like an early dramedy, you know what I'm saying, part drama, part comedy. One question, too, it was always a mystery to me. Of course, I was, young as well, as were so many of us watching the show. What happened with Sebastian Cabot, where in one of the early seasons, he disappeared for a few episodes? It was more than a few. It seemed like at least 7 or 8. And then a gentleman by the name of John Williams, a very, stoic English actor, took his place, did a marvelous job. Kids my age were wondering, what happened to Mr. French? What, did he keel over? But he played his brother, Mr. French, so obviously there was continuity was kept in some way, even though he played a brother of Mr. French.
Well, one of the reasons, because Sebastian had to have a wrist surgery. Now, that could have been fixed up in like 2 weeks, but it was the way that we shot the show. And this was called the Feddersen method. And he started out with My Three Sons. Don Feddersen also was the producer of that. Well, this was like in the times of the 60s, and movie stars were movie stars and television people were over here. And it was very rare that a movie star would do a television show. So in order to get the movie star to do a TV show, Don Feddersen approached them and their agent and said, look, you only have to do this show for 3 months, and then you can go and do all of your movies. But the real lure was that they gave them a financial ownership part of the show. Well, and that's it. Oh, okay. And so when Brian Keith, and when they're going to start now Family Affair, they made that same offer to Brian Keith. And so he said, okay. His agent said, okay. Now, what does that have to do with Mr. French? Well, in order to get the star out in like 3 months, they had to shoot all the scenes that he was in first. And then they would pick them all the other scenes at the end of like the 3 months. So one, that meant that all the scripts had to be done. Like at that time, we were doing 32, 33, up to 39 episodes. All the scripts had to be finished. And all the scenes that he was in one day, we could be shooting scenes from 3 different shows.
Yeah,
All the ones that he was in.
Yeah.
So this is a long story to tell you why Sebastian, when he could have just been out for 2 shows, was out for 9. Because they did it sporadically.
Oh,
And
okay, gotcha.
that's
Yeah,
why-
so I
and
was
so
right. He was gone for quite a few episodes. It wasn't just
Yes, it
3 or 4. And then I kept thinking, of course, those days it wasn't, instant, media, whatever. Kept saying, what is it? Maybe this, I think rumors were going, or maybe he was ill, or this, that, and the other. I mean, ill, like in other words, life-threatening. And then eventually he came back, and then all was good. Yeah, that Feddersen method. That's not a method. I know that I've read quite a bit about the My 3 Sons show, and I can imagine, even for a young actor, very disconcerting. You're talking some blurb I read where you could be talking to a guy who looks like Mo Howard of the Stooges reciting your lines, and you're not talking to Anissa, you're not talking to Johnny, who played the boy character. You're talking to a grip off camera who's looking at you holding up your lines. I mean, it's amazing that those shows were as successful as they were.
Well, they had a lot of heart, and they had great stories. The writers were from the movies, Abbott and Costello, and they had that comic sensibility, and there was a real story. And it was a formulaic given, but because they would start out with the problem, and then they'd say how we're going to solve the problems, and then they say, we get the climax and we solve the problems, and then the denouement. I mean, it's like classic writing. And so followed that pattern, and plus the characters were very appealing.
Plus, the writers must have loved that. I spend all my summers writing scripts, or for as she said, in those days it could have been up to 39. By the time you were doing the shows, they were probably down to the mid-30s. But no 22-minute or 22 episodes, 22 minutes. I mean, it's amazing that you can get a storyline in a television show now. But anyway, ex-child stars, where are they now? Kathy Garver joining us for the hour. Ms. Garver, we have someone that you've worked with in a manner of speaking, I think. I don't know how often you two socialize, but mystery caller, how are you?
Oh, I'm just doing great, Larry. Thank you.
There you go.
Hello, Kathy.
That sounds like my cousin Barbara Stern.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, boy, what an ear on this 39-year-old.
What a great ear.
Right? Will I get one of Barbara's books?
Yeah, you'll have to, Barbara. I'll send you her address.
Okay. Yes, yes, I have a new address, Barbara.
There you go. And I have to.
Email it to me.
I have to tell you that he sends his regards. He could not join us. We were also going to have another gentleman joining us as a mystery guest. Barbara knows because we've spoken with him off air. A gentleman named Bud Burton Moss. Okay, and Bud was going to be on the show. I don't think you guys have ever worked together. A super agent in Hollywood all these years, but as Barbara knows because she's done a couple of theme shows with us over the last couple of years. 2 things about Bud, besides being married to Ruth Roman and knowing Ava Gardner and all, just on and on and on. Sidney Poitier. I mean, the man has stories that could fill this entire studio. But Bud's, what I call his claim to fame in the movies, was that as a boy of maybe 10 or 12, he was in the pool scene on It's a Wonderful Life, if you remember that scene where Donna...
my gosh, jumping in the pool,
yeah,
yes.
where they all fall in, and Alfalfa Schweitzer, even though he doesn't get credit, he and a buddy are like, opening the pool, which was pretty hip for 1940s, a floor that's separated. That Bud is somewhere in there. So it's like Phil Collins in A Hard Day's Night. You got to look real hard to find where he is. And then the other one, which is why we wanted to bring him on, was that he played an extra, several extras, as a matter of fact, in the 1956 movie, The 10 Commandments.
Oh.
So
Doesn't that sound familiar, Kathy?
Oh, yes. That was one of my first movies that I did, and it was just quite an experience.
And
It
we-
was
and we-
absolutely fabulous.
And we have a photo of Kathy, not with Bud, but we have a photo of her with Charlton Heston. So that's pretty.
Moses.
Yes, Moses. Yes. I love. Actually, you know, I saw that movie a couple of years ago, and I must say, I thought, oh, it's going to be hokey, whatever, because it was this all-star cavalcade of people. But I must tell you that once you start watching it, it grips you, not just because of the storyline, most certainly, but I mean the cast of people there. I mean, it just. You should write a book just of any memories you have of working with those. I mean, again, working. You may not have been there that long, but still, I mean, Edward G. Robinson, Yul Brynner, Charlton Heston, Yvonne DiCarlo. I mean, just the who's who in this remake of that movie that was originally, I believe, a silent film back in the.
Yes, I didn't do the silent version.
No. I wasn't. No.
I'm not that old.
No, Barbara tried to tell me that she wrote a column on that, but I know that she didn't. She didn't. I said no.
In my memoir, Surviving Cissy, I have like 2 chapters devoted to that.
Oh,
because
really?
I do remember so much, and there's a story that's way too long to tell, but a classic. Cecil B. DeMille story.
Oh, there you go. See, Barbara, you've done those Hollywood or Bust shows that we do when we get a panel of people. So we'll have to get this young lady on there and tell us a few tidbits there.
That would be great. Doesn't it make you wonder when you rattle off that incredible list of major stars, whether at the time that film came out, we could possibly have imagined that they would go into that pantheon like that of really the greats. They were the stars that were working then. Those were the stars, you know. Of course, Edward G. Robinson had been around for a long time, but the others were the young, wonderful stars of that time. Even Martha Scott was in that too.
Yeah, right. Didn't she?
And Deborah Paget, she was just so beautiful.
Who was the one that played with Yul Brynner? Played his wife there. Was it Martha Scott or Deborah Paget, or do I have that wrong? Or no, it was Yvonne DiCarlo.
Yvonne
DiCarlo, beautiful. Of course, we all remember as Lily Munster, but under that makeup, she was a very, very attractive woman.
And you know what else surprises me about that movie when I see it today? Because we have green screen and we have all the animatronics and animation, and those special effects are they're believable, they're fun, and what it captures, what I don't think the green screen captures today and all the special effects, is the heart and the spirit. And you can really get so involved, as you said, besides the story, it's actually seeing that emotion that comes through that is sometimes lost in our technology. We don't get that human.
It's the music, the pacing, the scenery. I mean, again, this was like a pantheon of talent, not only in front of the camera, but as I'm sure you would know, couldn't appreciate it perhaps as much as we would all now, but the people working behind the scenes. I mean, just the extras alone. See, now extras, they wouldn't do that. There's a method now where they can create 1,000 times the number of extras with just a small amount of people. They just kind of, almost cut and paste them. I'm sorry?
Busby Berkeley it.
Exactly, yeah.
For those who don't know who Busby Berkeley was, he was a choreographer, and he would just take like maybe 5 dancers, and all of a sudden that looked like 500. And, now they would just animate the extras. They'll get what they look like in models, and then they'll just duplicate them.
Now, Barbara, while we have you here for a couple of minutes, tell me, what did you think back in 1966, whenever they, I don't even know if they had to do a pilot, but when the show premiered on that, I believe it was a Sunday night at around 7:30 on CBS, what did you think to see your little cousin there on television?
My cute little cousin, we thought, oh my God, look at her. She is so adorable. And Mom said, well, yeah, her mom is my cousin. Kathy's grandma and my grandpa were brother and sister, so that's how we're related. And our moms were first cousins. And, oh, sure, we thought she was just adorable and so fun to know that she was out here in Hollywood. Who knew that just a couple of years later I'd be here myself.
There you go. That's right.
You were with Rona Barrett then? When did you start working with Rona Barrett?
1971 or January. Yeah, I came in 70 when I worked at KFWB for just a short while, and then I was recruited by Rona. So yeah, I joined her right away. And I think you and I got together shortly after that, Kathy.
Right. Yeah, because I was still shooting Family Affair until 1971. Barbara, you're going to have to go on my Danube River cruise. Barbara is a great traveler.
Oh,
She's
that
been
sounds like a
all
great
over the
plan.
world.
Oh, believe me, I know. I can.
But we're doing a Danube cruise, and because we're Austrian, and we can stop in Vienna. So I want to talk to you about
well,
that.
we have other cousins there too. Lots of
Right.
them. I was just in Vienna in December, actually, and and I'm going to be there again in May. So listen, we got to do the town when we go. I'd love to go on your cruise.
I'm playing host, producer, and travel agent over here. So there we go. Yeah. So, hey, Barbara, thanks so much for taking a couple of minutes. We'll have you back on, and you got to help me nudge this young lady to come on one of those Hollywood or bus shows. She'll be fabulous.
Oh, Kathy, you have to. Yes, it's really a lot of fun. It's very interesting, and you could contribute a lot. Listen, I'll let you go. Kathy, I hope to see you real soon. We're going to do that lunch.
Yes, we are. Good to talk to you, Barb.
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay, bye.
Barbara Sterning joining us here on Studio 411, and joining us for the hour with her one of her recent books, Kathy Garver, Ex-Child Stars, Where Are They Now?
You want to see my newest book? It's not even out yet.
Yes, I know. Well, I want to have you. Yeah, you can show it if you have it. I want to have you back on when you have that. Oh, there you go. You already have a cover on it. Excellent. And now, is that through the same publisher?
This is through the publisher of my first book.
Okay.
Bear Manor Media.
So Bear Manor, yeah. Oh no, they're great.
Second book.
Yeah.
And then the two books through Rowman and Littlefield and Taylor Trade are the Surviving Cissy. That's where I talk about 10 Commandments, etc., and the Ex-Child Star.
Now, is she good? See, she carries those in her handbag at all times. So anytime she needs.
8x10s that I can autograph.
Yeah.
I've got my felt pen, and it actually has my name on Kathy Garver's signature pens. I signed with that. No, I'm kidding about that.
I started to ask you a young man that was on the Danny Thomas series, Make Room for Daddy. We have a photo of him along with Danny and I believe his TV sister, Angela Cartwright. Rusty Hamer. One was a kid that back in his day, the mid to late 50s through the mid 60s. At one point, I mean, this kid was something else. I mean, he had a sharp wit about him. Of course, he was reading what the writers wrote, but I mean, he was a kid that they could give him almost anything, and he just nailed it. And then I was so sad to hear that, he had a lot of trouble adjusting to life after television, and sadly took his life some 2 decades or more ago.
And Rusty Hamer is the one that really got Paul involved and induced him to start A Minor Consideration, because it's not only the finances that really get these kids in trouble and the drugs, but it's not knowing what to do because they haven't had any training in other things. And also when you're a child, all you do is learn your lines and go to where you're told to go. And so children and child stars are never really given the opportunity to develop their acting skills. And so when they get grown-up acting roles, they hit their lines and be cute. And it doesn't work when you're over 18. So to get them training and to get away from the ego a little bit, say, yes, you're very good in this particular thing, but how about developing a character? And how about learning to take care of your finances now that you don't have your mom or your business manager who stole the money from you anyway? So you can learn all that.
One thing too, you were just saying that triggered in my head. Now, in your case, yeah, you did some movies early on, but obviously, in your mid to late teens, the Family Affair thing really exposed you to America and even overseas where the show was popular as well. Do you find, or at least this is my perception, that the folks that I see and read about in this book, it seems to me that the TV star kids had less trouble if they just stuck with television. Those that were, in other words, became like a Haley Joel Osment or others that are a River Phoenix perhaps, those that really didn't come from television but came and blossomed through movies. I think that side of the business is more dangerous in the sense that I don't think that they adapted well once their star started to fade. I think with television, it was a little better. I think more of your tragedy stories you hear about, I think, are more with the movie kids than the TV. Agree or disagree?
No, I agree with you. And I think there's a couple reasons for it. And when you're on television and then you don't, and then your series is canceled, then maybe you can get another starring role, or you can do a guest spot, so you can keep working in that manner and you can keep working on TV. Whereas if you're a star of a movie, child star of a movie, well, you can't go back and do TV, so you have to wait till the another starring part comes along that's in a movie. So I think that is the main reason we're going to the ex-child stars that we did were all in television. So we're doing another book that will be a sequel to ex-child stars, Where Are They Now, which will take all the movie stars, kids, from Shirley Temple, all the way up to Anna Paquin. And
now, with this book here, was there a cutoff that you and Fred kind of stayed to? And I'll give you an example. Someone that you could make the case could be in your next book, but really started in television, was Sarah Jessica Parker. I remember her on a great show that only ran 1 year in the 80s called Square Pegs, that was produced by some of the Saturday Night Live people that were alum. And show lasted a year, was canceled, was set in a high school or junior high, and then she went on to, of course, fame and fortune in movies. But of course, by that point, is the cutoff for like what you guys consider a child star like under 20, or if someone starts, let's say it's 17, 18, they still are considered that?
They're still included. The teenagers are included, and like Leonardo DiCaprio, he was in TV before he became a big movie star, and we always look at Ron Howard, and then he became a big movie star, and now Clint Howard is in this. Oh, now what's it? I can't remember the new movies that. A Very Odd Christmas. That's what he's doing now with Robert Carradine. But. Yeah, that's we went from the 50s to the 80s of all the television shows that were on at that time. And then the next book will be all the movie ones.
Sure. We have a photo of a young man that I was surprised, not to diminish his talent, but that he really made a mark not only as a TV youngster, but also did quite a bit of recording and tour. I'm talking about Johnny Crawford. We got a photo of him with Chuck Connors. I mean, in The Rifleman. And again, he was very talented. Worked for a long time.
And it's so sad now. And Paul on the Facebook, because unfortunately Johnny has Lewy body dementia. And this is a form of Alzheimer's, a form of dementia, but it's very, very fast acting. And now he is in a assisted care home. And Paul has been reporting on Facebook that he went to see him, but he couldn't see him because, like, Johnny has good days and bad days.
Wow. And
he went, I think, just a week ago and was, I think, able to see him a little bit. Yeah. He was a wonderful talent, and, he put together this big band music that he would travel with, and he had, and he still does, have the CD out. But now I've gone to some Western conventions with him really just in the last year, a couple years. And he wanted to do his lasso. That's what he wanted to do.
Yes, I remember a video of him. He was quite proficient in that, if I recall. Yeah. So basically, for those that don't know, and again, it can take various forms, or the effects can be differing from person to person. The Lewy body dementia that Kathy speaks of was the same illness that eventually took the life of Robin Williams. So to get kind of a perspective, it's sometimes misdiagnosed. People think someone has Parkinson's or MS or any number of symptoms, or depression, alcoholism, and it's really not. It's just, they just, I don't know. I don't think they have a good handle on it, and certainly no cure for the foreseeable future. So our best wishes to Johnny, but as I said, very talented young man, very talented. Another one we have, youngster Barry Livingston. We have a photo of him with his brother,
Stanley.
I want to say Skip, but it's, or Stanley.
Stanley.
Is it, now, they weren't twin brothers, correct? They were like a year apart?
Right. And when there was one of the brothers left, so then they had to replace him. So Stanley is saying, well, what about my brother? His mother said. So on comes Barry, with the glasses. And it's so funny. I just saw him like 2 days ago. I was having lunch with, well, we're doing a reboot of a series, and this is with that Barry Cliff. That was Elizabeth Montgomery's hairstylist.
Yes, yes.
So we're, having some coffee, and I said, Kathy, I look over it, and there's Barry, and it was like at Aroma Cafe. This is this little place,
nice.
Where a lot of people meet. And so we caught up for a while. Now he has a little group with Billy Mooney, who is on Lost in Space.
Lost in Space, and a kid that was in every sitcom known to man before he got that Lost in Space gig. He always played, again, another Rusty Hamer type in the sense that he was quick, he was like real sharp, and he could play the good kid or the kind of mean little kid or whatever. Just, phenomenal talent, phenomenal.
Right, and as we were talking before, that's why it was easier for the TV child stars to make that adjustment. Yeah, well, I can do Lost in Space. It was like Angela. She went from the Danny Thomas show, and then she did Sound of Music, but then she was able to go back and then do Lost in Space. So it was an ongoing type of thing. So she never really, well, now she did. She put her foot out, and she's a wonderful photographer.
And a real quick story on Angela, who I would love to interview sometime. But Angela, the reason she was able to do Sound of Music, if I read this correctly, Danny Thomas gave her as much time as she needed to go do whatever auditioning, whatever for that movie. And I might have misread this, but I thought I read that she actually doesn't even appear in the final episode of the original Make Room for Daddy because he excused her because they were already starting filming on The Sound of Music. So there's not only about how good Danny Thomas was to work for, but also talk about going from not from the frying pan into the fire. This is going from the jackpot to the jackpot to the leprechaun's pot. I mean, it's just great stuff. Barry Livingston, if you ever see him, you can tell him this. He won't know who I am, but I'll tell you, he did a show along with a whole host of people that lasted about 13 weeks around 73 called Sons and Daughters. Do you remember that show at all?
No, I don't.
It was Gary Frank, Glynis O'Connor, Deborah Lee Scott. Barry Livingston played like kind of a, again, wisecracking kind of guy that couldn't quite fit in, slightly nerdy, whatever. And that was his first TV series after My Three Sons, and I thought it was great. And if I could have, I would own the DVD if I could find it. That's how good of a show it was.
It's out there someplace. Everything is.
I don't know. This one's locked in. It's locked in the vault somewhere. But Ex-Child Stars, one of several books published by Taylor Trade. This one, Kathy Garver, our guest, co-authored with Fred Ascher here on the Remaining Moments on Studio 411. This was another one that I didn't know. Dawn Lynn, we've got an image of her with Fred McMurray and the My Three Sons gang. It's amazing how many people pass through My Three Sons, and I'll tell you why in a second. Yeah. Dawn Lynn, I didn't know, is the sister of singer Leif Garrett. Did you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw. Because I know Dawn, and her whole kind of family.
Yeah.
And,
I saw him a few years ago at a casino here in Connecticut. He opened up for the Bay City Rollers, and I wish him well. It was not the prettiest sight, but it was, again, it was. He was there, and I was like, okay, well, now I know Leif Garrett, what he's doing, but I didn't know that they were related. But yeah, Dawn played the little daughter of Beverly Garland on the My Three Sons series, and
Tina Cole was in it. She came and she married
that King family that she came from. Oh my God, Tina is just she's drop dead gorgeous. I got to tell you.
And she's she's a good heart, great spirit, fabulous energy, and a lot of talent.
Oh yeah, as is this young lady who we lost much too soon. Again, came through My Three Sons to Petticoat Junction. We have a shot of her as a young teenager, Meredith McRae.
Oh yes.
I mean,
Meredith I, we went to UCLA together.
Yes,
She
I
was
heard. You were probably fellow cheerleaders there, right?
yeah. Well, and we were in opposite sororities. I was a Pi Phi, and I forget what she was, but she's just a little bit older than me. She was doing something else. I don't know whether she was going on a cruise, but she was a host on Good Morning Los Angeles.
Yes.
And she was off for a while, and I took her place. And that was just such an odd circumstance that took her life.
Well, you mentioned in the book, again, there's another thing, not a happy ending, but that I did not know, that she actually passed of complications from that brain cancer, but it was also exacerbated by, tell us and the viewer, by what, the medicine she was taking?
Yes, yes. And so you have to be so careful. And I think that, she would have had more months or years to live if that hadn't interfered, because she was going through the proper way to get.
No, I did not know that, but yeah, because it seemed like she just went so quick, and I didn't realize it was actually hastened by almost in a way, almost like an opioid crisis, but not induced by her. It was probably by the physicians. And for those who don't know, Meredith McRae talk about a family pedigree there. Gordon McRae, singer-actor, Oklahoma, so many other movies, State Fair, I believe. Sheila McRae, who was on The Honeymooners, singer-actress in her own right, and Heather McRae, who've been trying to get on the show, who's still out of New York. She was in the original Hair. I mean, these are just people that I believe there was a brother too, but it's just, a marvelous family. And I remembered when I saw the bio you did on her, that what a sad loss that was, because she had so much energy and so much talent. So, again, I wanted to mention too, a shot of you and Brian Keith. Brian actually remembered you from a movie you guys had done together. Tell me real quick the story on that.
Well, actually, it was an episode of a TV series that he had, Crusader.
Okay.
And I played a waif, and I remember to this day, because it was in a trial and in a courtroom, and I had a horsehair blanket on. And he was a crusader for a lot of people or countries or things that needed attention. And I think the point of this was that there were laws against cruelty to animals, but at that time there were no laws for cruelty to children. And nothing to help children that were abused. So it was kind of tackling some things that weren't usually dealt with at that time, and that was like in the 50s.
She was in a blanket when they filmed the scenes.
I was a baby in the blanket, like in Ten Commandments.
Yeah. A horse blanket, but you get the idea. She was nursing at that time. Yeah, there you go. All right, I want to cover a couple of things too, again, because you've got so much. Hold up the book. You've got another book that we hope to talk to you about, Holiday Recipes for a Family Affair.
Yes.
And that is, and actually the other one too. See, she reached in that handbag of hers. And what's the other one? Give that a plug too. I love that. They're both courtesy of my friends over at Bear Manor Media, correct?
Yes, I love Ben. Don't you? I mean, it's really a great, if you don't want to self-publish and you don't want to go through the big publishers who will only, publish a certain amount, Bear Manor Media is like print on demand.
Yeah.
So they can go and you retain the copyright and you can have as many as you want and it never goes out. Yeah. So these books are going to be around after I'm dead.
Well, the nice thing, and I talk to a lot of people, celebrities and more, author, non-celebrities, and the publishing business has taken such a turn that really that's a happy medium from self-publishing, which involves a lot more of your own work, to being with a large conglomerate, which then you're lucky to get 10 cents on the $10.
Yeah.
And so they do a wonderful job. And those books, for more information, bearmanormedia.com. Also, I forgot to mention, to stay in touch with what Kathy is up to, for more information, kathygarver.com. You're touring and have done, I guess, at various times. Dinner at 5, it's a play with Christopher Knight, Brady Bunch, Larry Thomas, who played the soup man on Seinfeld,
Not so for real.
and Karen. No, there actually is a soup man at the Mohegan Casino. But it's his likeness on there because you know they couldn't use the other name. But
good soup. Larry represented the soup man. There was an actual soup man in New York, and they took that character from that particular soup man.
oh yeah, and the image on the thing on the billboard, whatever, is actually him because I recognize her only without the mustache, you know. And then this young lady, I couldn't remember at first, Karen Richmond. I think she was the 14th or 15th Gidget. I mean, there's been a lot of them.
She was the new Gidget.
She was the new Gidget, yeah.
The other new Gidget.
Yes. Now we're gonna have the geriatric Gidget one of these days. So there you go.
Yes, you will.
There you go. I have to ask, and again, not to close on a somber note, but it's reality. How does it feel? I mean, obviously Johnny Whitaker's still around, but really, when you look at the crux of that, I mean, so many people, both cast members, crew members, whatever, from that show, I mean, have left us, some much sooner than others. I mean, I know you were close to a certain degree with Brian Keith. Anissa, you saw her a few weeks before her untimely passing. You know, how does that feel for quite a few years now to have so many of those folks that you were close to have not been around for quite a long time now?
I would like it better if they were around. I don't like anybody to die. And it's just irritating and it really makes me angry when people die. And we've lost so many people. David Jones and, you know, it just goes on.
Peter Tork, just passed away in 2019. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, I think a lot of it had to do with the 60s and the 70s and the drug taking and a lot of that, and it kind of stays in your body. I mean, Anissa, I had just done an interview with this autopsy program, and they said, was it suicide or was it an actual overdose? And no exploitation, and they went in from a forensic point of view and said, well, now this is what happened, and this is what her body was doing at that particular time. And so they did conclude that it was an overdose, which someone could have saved her. And it wasn't a suicide because she was, you know, a beautiful little girl and a beautiful little teenager. She just turned 18.
Yeah.
So that was very sad. I would much rather them be here now, but, you know, some people, the curse of family affair. There wasn't any curse. Things happen in life, and then you have to deal with them.
Oh, yeah. Everything turns into a curse, and again, some of it is just happenstance. You know, it was their time, it was accidental, whatever the case may be. You know, that's the way it goes, and then, you know, no disrespect to them. Next time we have you on, I want to mention too about this gentleman, Paul Lamont, who many remember from American Graffiti. You did a movie with him called Eli Elder that is going to be coming out at some point. A movie named Grace with Nancy Stafford as a missionary in the 1800s. So you're a busy lady. Now everybody thinks of, there she is up on, what was it like working with Julie Andrews for 5 minutes?
Oh, she was delightful. I mean, I tell you, she just stood there at that trolley, and she would swing her leg back and forth. But she said, would you like to go to your dressing room, Miss Andrews? Oh, no, I'm just fine. Thank you very much. You know, I'm just having a lovely time here. And so she was delightful. Just delightful.
And I hear now, unless they have another trolley accident, I don't know if you'll be in the next one. I heard that as an homage to Gary Marshall, that the principals are willing to get together to shoot a third installment. So we'll have to, you know, keep our eyes on that. That would be marvelous. And Kathy will appear in some other role, so you know that'd be great. Just like these folks that bobbed and weaved out of Petticoat Junction, My Three Sons, you know. But it's great. Hey, you've been a great sport. My best to your husband on his big day today, and go and celebrate. We thank you for joining us. The book Ex-Child stars Where Are They Now? He said. Kathy Garver, along with Fred Ascher, published by Taylor Trade. And again, hang in there with us. And we thank you for joining us today on Studio 411. Larry Dasilva is my name, and we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Take care.